The Nintendo DSi has a lot of DSiWare you were able to get on the DSi shop. My favorite is Flipnote Studio. I'll go over it starting with the development. There's both an Iwata Asks interview about it and a video describing how it works. The video was posted on Nico Nico. Nico Nico is kinda like YouTube, but for Japan. Anyways, Flipnote Studio started development with two people, Hidekai Shimizu and Yoshikai Koizumi. It was a secret project made for fun after Shimizu's and Koizumi's workday ended. It was based on an idea that there could be some kind of network made for the Wii. None of the projects for the Wii came together, so they tried making one for the Nintendo DS. The first version of Flipnote Studio was made for both the DS and Wii. It had you draw on your DS, and your drawing would be displayed on your Wii. It was made by Shimizu. After Koizumi saw it, he decided to make it so he can make flipbook animation, and just after 2 days, it was done. After that, they started to come up with ideas for what they could add next. They wondered if they could add sound to it, since the DS has a microphone. The next day, it was added. The prototype of Flipnote Studio was completed in just a few days. In early April 2008, the name planned for it was Flipbook Workshop. Then one day one of the programmers decided to eject it by saying he had nothing to do with flipbook animation, since he never drew a flipbook animation before and thought he never would. But he said it was fun watching ones made by other people. Koizumi later realized it could be made into a notepad that anyone would be able to use to keep notes and share them with others, or keep them for themselves. After that, he decided to call it Ugoku Memoko, the movie notepad in English, or Ugo Memo for short. After the name was decided on, they thought about making it so you can exchange flip notes you made with your friends using the DS's local communication ability. This version of Flipnote Studio had you connect your Wii to your DS so you could look at your notes on the Wii. The Wii was also going to be used to share flip notes online and save them, allowing them to be sent back to the DS. The WiiWare version of Flipnote Studio was intended to be free on the Wii Shop channel and was needed for the DS version to work fully. At the time, they didn't know about the DSi, since very few people at Nintendo knew about it at the time. They also thought about making a bulletin board channel. Right after deciding to do that, they heard about the DSi and realized that the DSi was perfect for what they were making. Since the DSi had network capabilities, they could just use the DSi to share flipnotes online instead of connecting to a Wii, and flipnotes could be saved on the DSi's internal storage. The developers went to ask Iwata about it to see if they could ask Nintendo's network department to help make it. That was a problem though. Nintendo's network development department's schedule was full of other projects until the far future, so it wouldn't be able to come out until 2009 if it was made in-house. And it would take a long time for Nintendo to construct a system and server for it to work. Iwata said they could work with Hatena since it would be faster, and they have experience with user-generated content. Hatena is an internet service company that makes a lot of different websites. Hatena would later help make Miiverse for the 3DS and Wii U. After that, the developers met with people from Hatena to explain how it will work. They also talked about how it would be monitored. The way the monitoring system for Flipnote Studio works is by having them visible on the website first. If the Flipnote isn't reported on a single time, it will be shown on the DSi. If it was reported, it would get checked to see if it could be shown on the DSi. After making that, they developed Ugo Memo a bit more. They added a feature that allows you to rework flipnotes someone has made before, so you could add stuff you want to it. The people that edited it are added to a credit list, so the people that helped make the flipnote will be credited. The developers really wanted to make something that everyone will be able to use and enjoy. They also wanted flipnote to become a commonly used noun. They plan to release 2 versions of it, version 1 and version 2. Version 2 would add some features that version 1 didn't have, like categories. Finally, after all of that, version 1 of Flipnote Studio was released on December 24th, 2008, with version 2 releasing on April 27th, 2009. It was later released in other regions in August 2009 for free on the DSi shop. It was also pre-installed on DSi XLs with firmware version 1.4. That's the full development history. Now let's take a look at Flipnote Studio. When getting on, you meet the Flipnote Frog. He welcomes you to Flipnote Studio and tells you that Flipnote Studio is a handy tool for making memorable notes and animated flipbooks. Before you start making flipnotes, he asks you a couple questions. He asks whether you're right or left-handed. You can change it in the settings if you want to. Next, he asks you when your birthday is. After that, he asks you if you want to learn the basics of making a flipnote. He tells you to think of the touchscreen as a blank page, to draw whatever you want on it. He tells you how to make another page, the many tools you can use, and how to save your flipnotes. He then has you take a look at the View Flipnote function. After that, it's the end of the tutorial, and the frog tells you that there are more advanced tools and a help section. The help section is a digital manual that comes with most DSiWare. It's pretty good and shows you all the controls and features. He then tells you to have fun making animated flipnotes. It then saves and gives you sample flipnotes. There's a few of them. The first one is a cat bouncing on a skateboard. The second one has multiple characters run across the screen, one after another. The third one is a loop of this kind of hair thing, scratching itself, and the pile of hair becomes another one. The fourth one is the best one in my opinion. It tells you hidden techniques for Flipnote Studio with a ninja. He tells you how to use advanced control, how you can draw straight by holding start or select, how to select paint, and how you can blow in an area on the touchscreen to paint it. That was also a feature in Nintendo Zone. The last one is a random person running and jumping into someone to knock them down. That's all the flipnotes that were included. There's some more interesting things about Flipnote Studio. One thing interesting is that the intro jingle sound is different for different systems. Also, the amount of frogs on the title screen changes. The Flipnote Maker has a lot of different options to choose from. There's even more you can use if you enable advanced tools. You open the menu by tapping the frog on the bottom left, or pressing up on the D-pad. You get the option to erase and undo. On the top left, there's a film icon. This lets you erase, insert, copy, and paste a page. If you hold the shoulder button, you can choose either layer 1 or layer 2 to effect. You can also paste notes on top of each other. This also lets you play and go through your Flipnote a page at a time. The bottom has a speed icon that lets you change how fast it is. Speed 6 is 12 frames per second, Speed 7 is 20 frames per second, and Speed 8 is 30 frames per second. You can also select if it loops or stops when it finishes. The option in the top center lets you add photos from your album. You get a box that lets you choose how you want it added in. The Japan version lets you take a photo using Flipnote Studio. The third option lets you add audio from the microphone. You can add music as the main audio track. It can only be a minute long at max. The bottom 3 lets you add 3 sound effects that can each be 2 seconds long. If you record audio, then change the speed, it changes how it sounds. The length of it also changes depending on the speed set. To the right, it lets you see how high your voice is. When it comes to drawing, you have a lot more options. You can choose a pencil and change what kind of lines it draws. There's paint that lets you add a pattern, erase that lets you erase. You get a lot more options if you hold L. On the second page, you get an option to choose a layer, also what color the background is. You can only choose black and white. You can also change the color you draw in by selecting it in the layer area. There's even a copy feature that makes what you draw appear on the next page you create. Draft lets you mark where you want to draw. The third and last option lets you select an area on the screen to move, copy, paste, cut, resize, and flip. You can draw around an area on the screen. If you hold down L, it lets you move what you selected. That's the final option. There's also button shortcuts you can use on the note. Pressing A lets you change what tool you're using, B changes the color selected, and the layer selected. Holding L lets you move the color you selected. X lets you delete everything on the layer you selected. After you finish making your flip note, you can save it. You can either save it as a new note, save it onto your SD card, or save it as a GIF. It does say that saving a flip note as a GIF can take a long time. If you save it on an SD card, you can use a website to view the flip note and convert it into a video. You're also able to send your flip note to Flipnote Hatenna. Flipnote Hatenna is amazing. It allows you to share flip notes you made online or view flip notes other people have made. You can even view them on their website. When you get on, the first thing you see is a list of categories to choose from. Getting started is what you use to make an account and sign in. You had to make a Hatenna ID to sign up on the original version. You need an account to post flip notes and leave comments. You can view flip notes without an account. The flip notes appear on the top screen. When you press details, it allows you to add stars. You're also able to view how many comments, views, and downloads a flip note has. You're able to save them too. If you edit it, then upload the flip note you saved, it will become a spin-off. You can also comment by making a drawing. A similar feature was used for Miiverse. There were also official contests. There was one for the 25th anniversary of Super Mario and Zelda. You were given templates to edit that had music and audio you can use. The entries were judged by the makers of the series. You were able to view the winners' flip notes on YouTube, Nintendo's website, the Nintendo channel, and the 3DS eShop. There were also some musicians that used Flipnote Studio to make music videos for songs. Billy Pollard used .gif files exported from Flipnote Studio in his song Losing Light and Our Bedrooms Were Once Haunted. Armand Bone used hundreds of different flip notes showing different elements in his music video for Brain Games. He exported all of them in .gif and put them together using video editing software. I want to go more in depth about Flipnote Hatenna, but most of how it worked wasn't preserved online. A bit over 4 years after Flipnote Studio released, it was discontinued on May 31st, 2013 worldwide, with the last update, version 2.5, releasing on February 17th, 2012. The platform had a total of 4 to 6 million users when it was shut down. It was unfortunately shut down due to people using it to share offensive stuff they shouldn't. The same thing happened to Swapnote. I'm not going to go more in depth about it, since there's some disturbing stuff about it. It's sad that a ton of Flipnotes creators put a ton of effort into are no longer able to be seen. There were over 44 million Flipnotes posted before the shutdown. It's also not possible to transfer Flipnote Studio to the 3DS officially. It's one of the few DSiWare you can't transfer to your 3DS. Right before the shutdown, there were archives made to preserve Flipnotes people made. There was later a revival made for Flipnote Studio. It's called Pseudo Memo. Right before Flipnote Hatenna was shut down, a user named Jasa performed packet captures of the DSi portion of the server. Packets are small pieces of data that your device receives from the internet. They allow data to be transferred more efficiently than just sending all the data at once. This data was used to see how Flipnote Studio and the DSi sent data to each other. The data was looked at by Jasa, PBSDS, Nick Swar, Pseudofox, and Maxigaki, and many other people. PBSDS used what they found out to make a Hatenna server on January 26, 2014. It was called Hatenna server, with a dash instead of a space. This was a bare bones recreation ran in Python used to test his Flipnote Hatenna service. 3 days after Hatenna server was released, Brooke wanted to make his own Flipnote Hatenna server, so he used Hatenna server as a base, and created his first public demo of Pseudo Memo on January 29, 2014. The demo was a basic version of Flipnote Hatenna and was received incredibly well. Austin shut the server down soon after and began working on his own server. It was mostly written in PHP, Hypertext Preprocessor, which is an open source scripting language used for web development. It still used PBSDS Python scripts to convert flipnotes and images. This was the start of sudo-memo. After that, it received a lot of updates that made it better than the original version. Today, sudo-memo has a lot of the same features Flipnote Hatena had, but is slightly different. There's also a lot of people that worked on sudo-memo. Right now, sudofox is the sole developer. There's also sudo-memo theater that lets you view flipnotes, add stars, and comments. It's a website that you can use on any device to view flipnotes people have made. You still need a DSi or a 3DS to post flipnotes. It wasn't until May 31st, 2022 that the Flipnote archive was released, allowing you to view flipnotes posted before Flipnote Hatena shut down in May 2013. Flipnote Studio recently had a resurgence online with flipnotes being posted on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, getting millions of views. Zane Little and Laxty Flipnote are the most popular flipnote makers right now. Both of them started making them in 2024. I find it cool how flipnotes are making a comeback, since I used to use Flipnote Studio a lot. Both of them post on sudo-memo. Flipnote Studio wasn't only released on the DSi. On July 24th, 2013, Flipnote Studio 3D was released on the 3DS in Japan. It has way more features, colors, and lets you make them in 3D by using different layers. It was free to download and was set to release on August 2013 worldwide, but due to online usage being very high in Japan, it was delayed for both Europe and North America. You were able to transfer your flipnotes from the DSi version to the 3DS version if you used the same Hatena account. There was also a mini Nintendo Direct made for it that went over how it will work. The person talking is using an AR BrainAge head. It was eventually released in North America for Club Nintendo members on February 10th, 2015. Everyone in Europe and Australia that pre-registered or signed up for a Nintendo account between March 31st and April 30th, 2016 were able to get it for free with My Nintendo. It was then finally made available everywhere for every region on My Nintendo until 2023 when the eShop shut down. Flipnote Studio 3D had an online service, but it was exclusive to Japan unfortunately. There was a service for DSi flipnotes called Nintendo DSi Library. The service for the 3D flipnotes was called Flipnote Gallery World and was a paid service. It had you buy 30-day passes that you can get in many different ways. There was also a short time every day between 3 PM and 7 PM where anyone could connect to the service for free based on the console system time. When you first connect, you receive a free trial pass with additional passes costing 100 yen each. Each pass you have activates after the previous one expires. They also give you 100 coins and 3 star coins, which you can use for a variety of things. A coin was required to post a comment and download a flipnote. They were also used to rate flipnotes. You were able to add as many coins as you wanted. Flipnotes could be posted with either a coin or a star coin. If it was posted with a regular coin, it would be removed from the service entirely if it didn't receive a coin in 30 days. If it was posted with a star coin, it wouldn't be removed. The service ended on April 2nd, 2018. That's pretty much everything about Flipnote Studio. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. I plan on making more videos about the Wii, DS, and also the 3DS. Goodbye and have an excellent day.